Hello, welcome to another comma lesson where we're going to talk about clauses. Clauses are things we need to understand in order to move on to the next comma rules. So we have to understand clauses, but I don't mean those clauses. Haha, just kidding, not Santa and Mrs. Claus. P.S. What is Mrs. Claus's first name? Have you ever noticed she doesn't get a first name? Okay. So clauses are the building blocks of a sentence. Yeah. They are the chunks. Okay. I like to think of them as Kit Kat bars, individual Kit Kat bars, not the whole brick of four, but one Kit Kat. It's a chunk, like an acceptable chunk of meaning. One thing that clauses have to have is a subject, a noun, basically, a person, place, thing, and a verb. There needs to be an action and something doing the verb. Could be a pronoun as well, but there needs to be a person, place, or thing that is doing a verb. And I think of them as like pieces of a Kit Kat bar. It's going to become clear in a second. So first, we can take clauses and put them together to make sentences. We could have just one clause, one Kit Kat would be an acceptable snack, but sometimes one Kit Kat isn't enough. Sometimes you even need all three or all four. But we can stick them together to make sentences. So here's an example. I like cookies. That's it. That's clause. That's Kit Kat bar. And I like ice cream. I like ice cream is also a clause. And together, that makes a sentence. So there are actually two types of clauses or Kit Kats. There's independent, a complete thought. Could stand alone. Here's it. I'm going to break you off a piece of Kit Kat and give it to you. Thank you. I would accept that. Then there's a dependent clause, which is an incomplete thought. Do you see that, Kit Kat? It's not complete. If you gave that to me, I'd be like, there's something missing here. And I have a different feeling about accepting that for a snack. So here are some examples of independent clauses. I like puppies. Cats are feisty. Correct. Here's an incomplete thought. If I call you, since you are here, if you notice in the dependent clauses, you're still waiting. I couldn't stop after if I call you. If I stopped, you'd be like, miss, you're not done yet. You're missing something. And if I said, since you are here, yeah, keep going. It's not complete yet. The thought isn't done. But I like puppies is done. It's done. So for this one, if we notice, I am waiting for more. The thought is finished. Excuse me. So let's do a quick quiz. One of these is dependent and one of these is independent. After I fell down, I got back up. Now, students yesterday were like, well, we put them together. Yes, but independently. Well, I shouldn't use that word too much. On their own, after I fell down. Is after I fell down complete? Or is it independent or dependent? I got back up. Is I got back up a complete thought or an incomplete thought? Here we go. After I fell down is dependent. Dependent. I need more information. All by itself, it is dependent. I got back up is independent. Independent. So a simple sentence is defined as one independent clause, complete thought with a period at the end. Halloween is awesome. Excuse me. I like cookies. Dinosaurs lived 65 million years ago. Last night I slept well. I finished my ed puzzle. Those are all simple sentences. Okay, so we have simple sentence here. But let's talk about what a fragment is. You may have heard this. That's a sentence fragment. Fragment. Think about what the word fragment means. Like a fragment of glass or a fragment of a dream. A fragment, here are some fragments. They are dependent clauses written as a sentence. After I scream, period. That is not a full thought, but it ends in a period. It's called a fragment. When I was 5. When you were 5, what? It's not a full thought, but it's written as a sentence. Although she's my sister. If you need me. Since I have you here. So these are sentence fragments. These are all incomplete thoughts written with a period, but sometimes writers use fragments on purpose. They have their own power and effect. But if you're meaning to communicate a full thought, a fragment won't work. If I would like to tell you what happened to me when I was 5, then I need to finish the sentence, number 2. When I was 5, I broke my cheekbone. I'm making that up. Didn't really happen. If I'm meaning to communicate to you something that happened and I want you to know what happened to me when I was 5, I need to finish that sentence. When might you use a fragment? Be on the lookout in what you're reading for fragments. Fragments come up a lot in dialogue because we don't always speak in full sentences. Hello, my friend Sarah. Today we will go to the park. And when we are in the park, we will play lots of games. We don't always speak in full sentences when we're talking to people. We often speak in fragments. That's one way that fragments are used. Sometimes fragments are used to express when a person's thinking is very broken or stressed out or disjointed. Take a look. There's many reasons that you might use a fragment on purpose. I'm not going to go through all of them now. But if someone tells you you have a sentence fragment and it wasn't on purpose, you need to go back and ask yourself, can I add another clause? Can I add more information to my fragment to fill out the idea? Yeah. Sometimes fragments are very long. And so you're like, how can that be a fragment? It's like 25 words long. We can go through examples of that later. But if someone says, hey, that's a sentence fragment and you did it on purpose, just know why you did it. And you have to ask yourself, does it have the right effect on the reader? Is it leaving the reader confused? Or is it leaving the reader having the kind of reaction I want them to? Worth asking, okay? So today's important key points here are simple sentences and fragments. Sorry, I just want to move this over here. So we have simple sentences, which are one independent clause, and fragments, which are one dependent clause written as a sentence. All right? Happy writing.